After hours and hours of talking and voting, Senate Republicans once again fell in line behind President Donald Trump. They passed a $70 billion immigration bill that's now headed to the House of Representatives. Politico reports it includes about $38 billion for ICE, more than $26 billion for Customs and Border Protection, and about $5 billion that Secretary Markwayne Mullin will get to decide how to use. There were votes to include language that would block Trump's so-called anti-weaponization fund, and a handful of Republicans did support the measure, but not enough to make it a reality. And so far, Republicans have shown no indication they'll try to block Trump's immunity from the IRS. The nightcap is still here. Like most of you, we are also all monitoring the 9 seconds left in the NBA final game. We will have an update. We'll bring it to you as we need. Tolu, we're going to start with you. Look, we've heard Donald Trump say that the government doesn't have money for all these things people need. Child care, the government can't be paying for that. He literally, the government cut aid to money to NPR, to PBS, to USAID, cut SNAP benefits, right? All of these things we don't have money for, yet we're spending billions and billions of dollars on a war in Iran, as well as immigration. How could that be a smart political play with voters right now when people are really struggling all over this country?
We've seen over the past decade, whenever Donald Trump is in trouble, he runs to immigration. He talks about the wall. He talks about people coming across the border. This is what he's doing now, and he thinks that it's a strong political move. It's something that has worked for him when it comes to his base, and they are still animated by the idea of kicking people out of the country. But when you're talking about the broad segment of the American public, they are focused on gas prices. They are saying that building a bunch of detention centers and trying to kick a bunch of grandmas out of the country, separating families, is not going to make prices go lower. It's not going to deal with the issues that is facing them as a family or as a member of their community. And so we've already seen last year with the big, beautiful bill, the billions of dollars that were sent to immigration enforcement. And then we saw what happened in Minnesota. They took a lot of that money and started going after people who did not have criminal records, people who were part of their local communities, and they started arresting and killing American citizens. And more of this money is going towards that operation that we have seen is not well trained. We've seen is violating people's rights. Courts have said over and over again that they're using this money, they're using these funds, they're using the support they get from the president to violate the rights of American citizens and immigrants. And that looks like what is going to continue to happen as all of this money goes towards more detention centers, towards more beefed up operations to increase deportations. There's no sign that this is politically popular. We've started to see uprisings against it in various cities. And as we get to November, we're likely to see a bigger pushback against this when voters go to.
I mean, this discretionary $5 billion for Secretary Markwayne Mullin sounds odd to me as an American citizen. Look, Jason, look. The anti-weaponization fund, or the slush fund, as a number of folks have called it, was a real point of contention, not just on Capitol Hill, but I think it was a point of contention on Capitol Hill because of the things that Tolu just laid out. The American people, when they were being asked at the gas station by our MS Now colleagues, they didn't like it. But there are now 50 Senate Republicans who are on record choosing not to block the fund. Is that an opportunity for Democrats? Where are the ads?
I mean, it could be, but look, there is a level of corruption that you're dealing with this administration now that I think most voters have just sort of bought into. The Democrats sort of assume, all right, these guys are all corrupt. We still have to beat them. And Republicans have said we accept the corruption because we've been convinced that Hunter Biden was just as corrupt, right? So I don't think this is so much an opportunity for Democrats as it is a reminder of who you're dealing with. You are dealing with an opposition that can't be negotiated with, can't be worked out, people who can't be reasoned with. They're basically saying it's okay to give into this thug fund to pay the people who tried to kill us 5 years ago. And I think the lesson should be for Democrats in the Senate, for Democrats in the House to recognize I shouldn't try and work with these people. Anyone who wants to pay someone who tried to kill us several years ago is not a friend of mine, is not somebody who can be negotiated with. So I don't know that ads matter because I think at this point people have pretty much decided how they want to vote. But I do think as far as the negotiations go within the House, within the Senate, within senators saying, well, maybe if we work with them on this, no, there is no compromising with these people. And anyone who can vote to pay off somebody who wanted to kill them isn't somebody who can be negotiated with.
I mean, the former consultant in me says ads do matter somewhere. I am wondering, John, Jason's thoughts about the corruption angle and how Democrats can link it. And I will note that today in court filings, the Department of Justice, they did repeat Todd Blanchard's claim, the acting attorney general, that the slush fund is not moving forward. But they still will not commit to it in writing. So they said it in court. They didn't commit to it in writing. The president himself said he liked the fund and thought it was a good thing, and he has to ask the lawyers. Thoughts?
Well, I think the fund is not going to happen. And I think Republican senators were not willing to vote to prohibit it because they are accepting the word from the administration that they've backed off.
Is that smart?
Well, I think that's survival for them because they know that President Trump, almost to a person, can take them out if he wants to take them out. But I think these things are related to one another. And I think part of it's political and part of it's Trump specific. The jet fuel behind Donald Trump's movement is the anxiety felt by a minority of white Americans who are afraid that their country is slipping away and it's going to become a majority country that they do not have primacy in. And so that is what gives power to the Trump movement. That's why and people like Stephen Miller are using Trump to further their vision of a purified America. Trump has interest in that, not as much as they do. Like Trump is interested in himself, and he's not immensely motivated by anything beyond himself. So, yeah, Miller's doing his thing. They've seen that it's not ads made a difference. Reality made a difference. When people saw what it meant to try to do mass deportations on the scale that they were even imagining, the public doesn't like it. I mean, this is why Trump is unpopular, is because all of the things that he's been pursuing are not popular. He's going to keep pursuing the ones that put money in his pocket and that continue to allow him to glorify himself. You know, the Iran war, he had this idea based on Venezuela that he can look tough and dominant and in a quick strike do what other Americans have not done. It's not strategy. He doesn't think things through. He doesn't have smart people working for him who think things through. And so this is why the U.S. government is a mess. And you have the people within the Republican Party who do know better are afraid. And so this is why we get to this place.
We will hear from the voters very soon all across this country this November, and maybe they will tell us how they feel about the corruption and the grift and the fact that Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Gas prices are up. Can we talk about Bill Pulte? Good old Pulte. This is Trump's new acting director of national intelligence. Now, Tolu, the president is insisting that this appointment is temporary, probably because he cannot actually get confirmed. Mr. Pulte has no intelligence experience, zero foreign policy experience, no background in the industry. He can stay in this acting role, though, past the midterms. Yesterday, the president did suggest very strongly in interviews that Pulte could also look into the country's elections. The last director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was on the ground in Fulton County when the government seized ballots from the 2020 election in Fulton County. We still don't know what she was doing there. How much damage could Bill Pulte do?
He could do quite a lot of damage. He's not being put in there to organize the 18 offices within the intelligence community. He's been put in there to knock heads and to do what Donald Trump wants him to do. When he was the leader of the housing administration in the Trump, the FHFA for the Trump administration, he spent a lot of time trying to pursue Trump's political enemies over alleged housing misdeeds and went after
Tish James, Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook.
Right. And Trump.
And all that stuff was made up.
Very much so.
Okay?
Literally, these were internet
real.
fallacies.
That does not matter to Donald Trump. He wants people who are going to go after his political enemies, the people that he felt are standing in his way or felt helped give him a number of political challenges when he was out of office and he was facing all of these charges, including Tish James in New York, and he ended up being convicted in the New York case. The president wants people who are going to go after his political enemies. And if you are the head of intelligence, you have a lot of tools to go after people's private information, to use the various tools of the American government to go after the president's political enemies. That's why he's being chosen. That's why he's being put in there. It doesn't matter if he's only going to be put in there for a short period of time. There's a lot of damage that you can do over the course of months that he's going to have in this role, and that's what he's being asked to do.
I will be surprised if he spends months in this role.
Well,
because this may be, of all of the disgraceful appointments that Donald Trump has made, this may be the most disgraceful. And I think there are enough Republican senators, some of whom are saying it out loud even, because this is so bad.